9:30 sharp. Jenny Taft hard at work. What are you guys talking about? Believe me, I feel for you. I know how much work it must be getting through your show with those
getting in those guys in line.
Because I have two of my own.
Yeah, Jenna, we're going to have to talk offline about this another day and really go over how hard this is. No, hey, guys, good morning. And, hey, Chris, we need a big one from the Vikings tonight. Coming up on Undisputed, though, Baker Mayfield is already being called the next LeBron in Cleveland. But do we need to pump the brakes a bit? Should we slow down on the hype? How can the Cowboys fix their offense? Is more Zeke the answer? Plus, we have Hall of Famer Rod Woodson and Rob Parker in studio with us. Undisputed coming up next. Jenna, back to you.
All right, Jenny, thank you. We look forward to it. It's now time for Say What? The Astros clinched the AL West as they continue their quest to be the first team to win back-to-back World Series since the late 90s. Astros infielder Alex Bregman was asked about what he did to celebrate winning the division. Say what?
What was that line you saw Brian tweeted? What, popping tops and straight shots or whatever?
No, Birdman. Yeah.
Birdman.
Yeah,
did that all happen last night?
No. No, I actually stayed in and read the Bible.
Stayed in and read the Bible.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
All right. I'm like,
do we all feel guilty laughing?
No.
Just go ahead, see.
No, I've always been wanting to be part of a celebration like that, though. Like, man, I think that's the coolest thing with the champagne and everything. Like, I mean, I wanted to win a championship, too, but I really just wanted to do the celebrate. I just think that's amazing.
Well, and
I like that more than, like, the confetti thing.
And baseball, man, they're going to get after it. Whoever wins the World Series will have done this when they clinched the division. There's one time. When they win the ALDS or NLDS. They'll have 4 separate champagne and beer celebrations in the stretch of a month.
Can I share a quick story of covering you love the story. It was Dodgers, Mets, I forget what year it was, and it was out in LA and I was in the clubhouse. The Mets won. There was a full champagne celebration. It was early on. I think I was with another network or whatever it was. And there was full-blown champagne coming at me. I mean, soaking wet. And I was so young and serious that I stood there giving my report with bottles and I mean, I'll bring it in for you can see. It was hilarious. And I got through the whole thing. Could not enjoy 1 second of it, so I sympathize with you. I, too, wish I could now go back and actually enjoy it.
I think I'm just trying to get a drink on the side. I think that's the reason. I'm trying to sneak me a sip or something.
I knew that's where you were going with it. Like, it doesn't count to break the 28 years of an accident.
I just think I want to just
craze it on me.
A little champagne.
Right.
I want some bottle service.
That would not be the place for you.
We're going to get the video to match it up with your story, and then that's when the funny's going to come.
Exactly right.
You talked about a
one of those stories that I guess you had to be there.
You had to see it.
I can't with you guys. Let's move on.
The good thing about it is it was told so well.
Oh, boy. The game is tonight on Fox. That's good. Vikings heading to L.A. to take on I'll work on that story over it again tomorrow. Take on the 3-0 Rams. Kirk Cousins and company looking to improve to 2-1-1 on the season, while Jared Goff, Todd Gurley, and the rest of the Rams' high-powered offense look to cement their place as the best team in the NFL. All right, CC, break it down. What is the key to this matchup?
Man, it's an exciting matchup. Man, it's exciting that these two teams, before we started the season, like we thought that they would be two of the best teams in the NFL. And it's still early. Going into week number 4, we're going to launch it tonight with the Vikings. The Vikings coming off a miserable showing last week against the Buffalo Bills, who we thought were the worst team in football. Buffalo handled them. Now, we know Minnesota was going through some stuff. They had a player in crisis. We believe that affected their team. Believe they're going to be a lot better. But how do you slow down Jared Goff and this Sean McVay offense? You either have to try to take away their run, or you have to try to take away their run, because you can't take away their pass.
Correct.
I mean, they do so many different things. They have so many different formations. One game, Brandon Cooks, he's the number 1 receiver. The next game, it's Woods.
Robert Woods.
And the next game, it's Todd Gurley. So it's hard to key in on their passing attack. I think like the Vikings did last season, Todd Gurley had one of his worst days as a pro. They limited him, made Jared Goff.
It was this game, right?
Yes. Last year against them, that's what they were able to do. Can the Vikings do that this year? I believe that Jared Goff and their passing attack is better than it was in 2017, Nick.
I understand the Vikings got to feel right now like, man, we could have won that Green Bay game where we had to settle for a tie. And if we just hadn't, yes, Everson Griffin was in crisis, but they also, I think, were looking past Buffalo, looking towards this game, almost a schedule loss in that regard. Oh, we'll be fine.
That's why Mangini tries to tell you.
Not to look at the schedule. I get it. And I think Canny made a great point. Vikings were down 17-0, and they had run 6 offensive plays. So they might feel like, man, we should be better than we are. But in a 16-game season, you only have so many opportunities. And if the Vikings are touchdown underdogs tonight. If they don't win tonight, they fall to 1-2-1, and they go to Philadelphia next week. The Vikings would be prime candidates. We talk every year about who's going to be the team that comes out of nowhere and is good. Well, in order for that to happen, there's usually a couple teams that we are certain are going to be excellent.
Yes.
And they fall off. I didn't think the Vikings were going to be susceptible to that. They brought everyone back. They have a great defense and have had a great defense for 5 years running. They upgraded the most important position. But where they're at right now is they're a team that can't run the football. They're giving you 66 yards per game on the ground. Kirk Cousins is coming off his worst game since he got there as far as ball security goes. And now he's facing a team that is going to get pressure up the middle. Donald and Sue. Sue quietly had his best game as a Ram this past weekend. If they collapse that pocket on him, and the Vikings can't run the football, it can get late early for Minnesota. And so I think the Rams are the better team. But last week the story was who's more desperate. The Vikings are desperate right now for a win after what happened last week. Everyone thinks the Rams are the best team in football. I think people will think that even if they lose tonight.
And one little small thing, Jenna, that you pointed out, the Vikings got a lot of experience with Ndamukong Suh in his first days in Detroit. They were playing against him twice a year, so they have a healthy respect for what damage Suh can do in the middle.
So something you said earlier was really interesting. The Vikings looked past Buffalo. I think it's pretty obvious that they did, and they got hammered last week. The Rams can't look at the Vikings and say, oh, maybe they're not as good as we thought they were. Maybe we don't have to bring our AAA game because look what happened to them last week. Maybe they haven't been as great in the last couple weeks.
Point being, don't be tricked by what you saw on film on the Vikings last week.
And I think that Sean McVay, based on what the Vikings did to the Rams last year, because they basically beat them the same way that Buffalo beat the Vikings. All right, they scored early. After that, didn't score. Shut them out. One of the worst games offensively for the Rams. So I believe Sean McVay will show them that, so they will see, wow, this team right here is the one that's going to show up. Dalvin Cook, lack of a running game, bad hamstring in week number 3 against Buffalo, did not play. He's looking to be back into the lineup. So does he give them that boost for a running game? But this Rams team, this is one of those kind of message games too. Everybody's watching. It's kind of an odd start for them. You know, 5:20 kickoff for them in Los Angeles. So how do they respond? Because if you're going to be one of the best teams, you play at a lot of odd times. You play in prime time an awful lot. And you're going to get the team's best shot. And that's what they're going to get from the Vikings tonight.
And we've talked about this all week, so I don't want us to not talk about it in the final moments before we sign off before this game's played, which is where the Vikings can take advantage is the Rams' 2 biggest offseason acquisitions on defense. They're not playing.
Yes.
And so you don't have Aqib Talib, you don't have Marcus Peters. And so this is a game where Kirk Cousins shows why I was brought here. Because I do not, as good as the Vikings defense is, I don't think they're holding them in the teens. I know last year they held them to 7. You mentioned it. Rams scored on the opening drive, didn't score again. This team, Rams team, is better than last year's Rams team. Gurley had his worst game. Goff had his second worst game. I think you're going to have to score 28 points if you're Minnesota to win this game. That means Adam Thielen, who's had, 3 straight 100-yard games?
Yep.
Stephon Diggs, who has had a good start.
I don't see a path to victory for them if both those guys aren't over 100 yards.
Diggs and Thielen.
Yeah, they're going to have to be able to move the ball, and they have to be able to move it outside. We talked about the balance of Dalvin Cook. Watch also the screen game. When you get big guys like they do with Sue and like they have with Donald, who are defensive tackles, the screen game makes them run upfield and then chase the ball. So how can you get those guys tired? Look for the Vikings to utilize the screen game to try to slow them down.
I love that idea. idea because I think Aaron Donald was the most important player on the field tonight. I think Aaron Donald, more than either quarterback, more than Todd Gurley, can single-handedly ruin this game for the opposition.
What are the chances of you stealing my great concept there and putting it on your radio show later?
Very, very high.
You know what?
Very, very high. I've been listening. Trust me, a lot of what you say starts out over there.
I got a source. A Hall of Famer told me,
dude.
and it's not a lie.
We got to go. Thursday Night Football tonight on Fox. Make sure you watch it. Have a great, great day, everyone. Undisputed starts right now. Real high.